In this video, we're going to move the database to Azure. And I think for this one, I'm actually going to do this in the portal. So I'll go to portal.azure.com and I'll choose the account I want to sign in with. And I'm going to use Azure Cosmos DB, which is a multi-API database that is offered by Azure. And I'll show you what it means to be multi-API. So I'm going to click Create a Resource, and then I'll go over here to Databases, and then finally Azure Cosmos DB. Azure Cosmos DB supports 6 different APIs. So it supports this NoSQL API, which has a SQL-like query language. Just recently, they've added PostgreSQL support, table support, Apache Gremlin, which is graph databases, Cassandra, and the one that we're going to use, which is MongoDB. Now, I'll warn you that once you select an API, you cannot change it. So you can't, and it'll only support one API as well. So you can't say, hey, I'm going to use Cosmos DB and then later switch to Postgre or something like that. But I'll click Create. It's going to ask me for some details, the resource group that I've already created and have been using, an account name, which I'll say mempyjan23-cosmos DB. Put this in the same region or location. Now, if you're familiar with serverless, you may think, hey, that's going to be cheaper because it's only going to charge me for what I actually use. But notice down here, there's this free tier, because again, I said I'm focusing on the free forever tier for everything. If I click serverless, all of that goes away. So you can only get the free offering using provisioned throughput. And then you also have to make sure that you're going to apply the free tier discount and check this box to limit the total amount of throughput. After that, review and create. Everything looks good. Click the Create button. And this one will take a while, so I'm definitely going to pause this and speed it up through the magic of video. Now the deployment is complete. That took about 3 minutes. And I can click this button here to go to the resource. Now there's a number of different features and we'll be looking at some of those as we go along, but the first thing that I want to look at is the connection strings. So you'll get everything that you need to create a connection string, or they also give you 2 connection strings pre-made. So I'm going to click on one of these and copy this, and I'm going to go back over to my code space. Scroll up here to my Mongo client. Now, in the last video, we saw how, by default, the Mongo client will attempt to connect to the local server and port 27017. Or what I can do is I can just I can also paste a connection string in here, and I can post that connection string that I just got from Cosmos DB. Now, if I save this, change into my directory, do a Flask run, and open the application up in the browser, notice that our first post is gone. And that makes sense because in Cosmos DB, if we look in the Data Explorer, there is, of course, nothing. So let's go to /blog/new and create first post. Again, this is the first post on Azure Cosmos DB. And we have first post here. I can, let's say first comment. And everything appears to be working the way that it was. So it looks like we haven't done very much here. But now, if I go back over to the Azure portal and I refresh Mongo, we'll see it has created a database for the blog, a collection for the posts, and then the documents. And if I click on documents, Here's the document that I just created, saying that it is on Cosmos DB and the comment. So the only thing that we had to do to move our database to Cosmos DB on Azure is add this connection string. Now, how do we get the deployed web app on Azure App Service to see Cosmos DB? We'll look at that in the next video.